The much-awaited Virtual GP Season 2, sponsored by Thrustmaster, is back on your screens, and we are here at Imola for round one. My name is Matthew Gallagher, and joining me in the commentary box is Justin Sutton.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Really looking forward to this. I've had a look through at the drivers, the cars that are going to be used, the circuits as well. We're having a great look at Imola here. You can see the full calendar now on your screens. Great selection of circuits, talented drivers, really close racing. I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be really good. 12 races in this season, so not as long as the Formula 1 calendar, but there's a few absolute classics. And we head to Imola for the first one, Justin, and we're going to have a look at the teams now and the drivers that we can expect to see some good battling from.
Yep, so we've got the big shot car there in the yellow and red, looking very nice on this Imola circuit. That is being driven by Michael Schmidl. He is 22 years old, or will be turning 22 later on this year. Favorite circuit is Suzuka. And moving on now to Martin Stefenko. I know him. I've commentated on some races that he's done. Fantastic driver, driving for the Republic of Gamers team. Up next is Peter Zubek. He's driving in the Avast car. Very talented driver, as are all of these drivers, of course. Also 21 years of age, all of these guys quite young. There's the Thrustmaster car being driven by Hanzik. He is very successful in this league, has had 11 starts, 3 wins, 10 podiums. I mean, truly fantastic stuff. The Lynx team, it is going to be Frabish driving in that car. Also a young guy, just 23 years of age. Then we're going to be moving on to the effective racing car that is going to be driven by Richard Schlad, and he is also quite a young guy as well. And moving on to the next one, that is Blazek, and he's driving for the Ben Q team, of course. Wow, holy cow, he's only 17 years old, or turning 17 years old, very young. Driving for the Acer Predator team, we've got Polesny, another rookie as well. Keep an eye out for him. Driving for the TP Link team this time, it is going to be Chlebik on this particular occasion in that kind of baby blue livery for the TP Link car. Driving for DX Racer, we've got Dolazel, another very quick guy. I expect all of these guys to be extremely competitive throughout this entire season. And finally, Matt, we've got in the T-Mobile car, it is Sakura, and it is quite a lineup. 11 drivers are going to go racing here in Imola, and I'm expecting it's going to be a wonderful day.
We have the replay of Michael Schmidl, his pole position lap around Imola, and we're going to be on board with the man who he's popped it on pole, Season 2, straight away at the front of the grid for round one. And you can see the amount of commitment he has in this wonderfully looking big shot yellow and red livery as we now come into this next left, very fast left-right, as you can see, just a one downshift there in 4th gear as we now come towards the very famous hairpin at Imola. It's really great to see these tracks being raced on Assetto Corsa. It's obviously in real-life Formula 1 you get to see the modern-day tracks, but it's nice to see the classic ones coming back as well. I mean, for me personally, Justin, I'd love to see this track. I'm not sure if you would too.
Yeah, beautiful stuff here. I mean, just watching him go through turn 8 there, the high-speed left there, in through Aqua Minerale. They're using all of the track and then some. I mean, Imola is a classic and a fantastic circuit as that. Great to see it being used here.
To give you guys a bit of an insight as we watch the rest of this pole position lap, the point system in this championship is exactly the same as Formula 1, and they get one bonus point for the fastest lap in the race. KERS and DRS are both banned, as well as driver assists, except for the automatic clutch. Unfortunately, Assetto Corsa doesn't actually support rain, which is unfortunate, but it means that there are still variables that can happen with the track temperatures, etc. So that'll be one to watch out as Schmidl comes over the line. Before we get underway, let's have a look at the starting grid. Some fantastic graphics here. As we can see, Michael Schmidl on pole position in that big shock. Wonderful looking yellow and red car, probably one of my favourites on the grid. Then you've got Stefenko alongside. You mentioned, Justin, you've seen him in other series as well, and he's definitely one to watch out on that front row of the grid. Then we've got Polesny and Zubek in the 2nd row of the grid. Then the 3rd, we've got Blazek and Schlad. So Schlad actually being one of the rookies, as you mentioned, Zubek as well in that Avast car. So it'd be interesting to see, Justin, these guys at how they perform, because it's going to be a little bit of pressure on them. It's a very sort of unique championship in the fact that everyone races together. You know, it's not online. There's 2 rooms, a professional studio, podium, and a professional TV director room for these guys. And we're getting ready for the race.
Yep, going to be exciting. It'll be interesting to see what goes on with Hanzik. He's starting pretty far down. He's gotten a lot of podiums, so I'm going to keep my eye on him.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Hanzik, 5th on the grid, as we are now getting ready for those 6 lights. The lights are coming on now for round 1 of this Season 2 Virtual GP Championship. And it's lights out, and away we go. Schmidl getting a very good start, as well as Stefanko. It didn't look like there's many changes happening as we come flying down towards turn 1. And how are the drivers going to fare? This is a brand new season. You don't want to risk anything too much coming into this left hand. Now Schmidl maintains the lead and is definitely in first position. And there's been a contact there with the Ben Q car of Michael Blazek going all the way to the back. A few other cars getting caught up there as well, Justin. I'm not sure if you saw anyone else get completely tangled up in that, but Blazek down to last position. But Schmidl getting a fantastic start with Stefanko just behind.
Yeah, you can see a bit of a gap has now started to form where Blazek was.
Oh, more contact in the background.
Oh, gosh. Yep, and I think that's Hanzik, actually, who, yeah, he is dropping right down the order. Chlebik as well dropping down the order, so we've got an even bigger gap starting to form between the cars up at front and in the back. And there we go. There's Frabish getting his car spun around and getting pointed in the right direction. Schmidl, meanwhile, does have Stefanko for company, but then you can see a pretty big gap down to Zubek, decent-sized gap back down to Chlad. Sikora as well starting to fall back a little bit, so hopefully these guys will start getting close into each other. Of course, no assistance, no DRS or curves or anything. These guys are going to have to do it purely based on skill.
Exactly, and Polesny was definitely the big loser in that one, because he was the one that got caught up the most and had to spin the car around, it looked like. But still lap 1 of 31 laps, so it's essentially a 50% race distance. And the damage also is only on 50%. It's still quite a sensitive damage model with it being on 50%, but hopefully the drivers that were caught up in those instances are able to continue without too much damage. But Schmidl continuing the way he left in Season 1 and is 1.6 seconds currently ahead of Stefanko. And we're now on board with Thomas Dolazel, who has got Blazek just in front, half a second behind. As you mentioned, DRS and KERS not available for these drivers, so it's all down to driver skill using the slipstream available to them. And they've got a few straights to be able to use that, but it's whether or not they are going to be close enough. And I've seen a few lockups already into this hairpin, so the driver's just getting used to the balance of the car, as obviously with the amount of laps that are left to go, and there's no refueling either in this league. It means that there's quite a lot of fuel on board for these drivers at the moment, so obviously comparing that to qualifying, it's going to be a very different experience at the moment. But currently Schmidl looking to maybe be pushing that to 2 seconds out in front. But we're looking at a very interesting battle here with the TP Link car of Chlebek trying to go up the inside there of the T-Mobile car of Jan Sikora, but nothing doing into that chicane. But Jan getting a very difficult exit there, and that may well have enabled the TP Link car to get a very good run, and he has indeed. He's looking to the inside. That's going to be close as we come down to this next left hand. He's got the inside line. There's another car of that Thrustmaster coming on the inside as well, and that is a couple of positions lost for Jan Frabish there. And, well, no, it wasn't Jan Frabish, sorry, even though it did look like he had lost some positions as well. But Jan Sikora and Jan Frabish, both the Jans, losing positions there, Justin.
Yeah, incredible stuff there from Chlebik. Really, I didn't expect turn 14 to be an overtaking location, but we've still got some more racing going on here. It does look like Sikora and Frabish are going to be going side by side into Tamburello here, and with the inside line, it does look like Frabish is going to hold off Sikora for right now, but still very, very close. He's going to pick up that slipstream on the run down here, but then it's a very, very high speed left-hander turning and braking all at the same time, then switching it over to the right-hand side for that right-hander, and then into the hairpin here, and it does look like Sikora is going to have to sit behind for a little bit. The next overtaking opportunity, well, if Chlebik would have you believe it, would be at turn 14, but again, fantastic move from Chlebik there. Bit of a dive, locked up a little bit, but made it work. Nice clean move.
Yes, all this battling over 6th position currently. Honzik being the front of this, actually no, sorry, that'd be 5th place actually with Chlebik. And we're currently having a look at the Republic of Gamers car of Martin Stefanko. One of the guys that you definitely bet on being competitive over the course of this season, Justin, as you've seen in other series as well. What kind of series have you seen him in previously?
I'm familiar with him from Formula Sim Racing, FSR, a hugely competitive league, much like this one. So I fully expect, because he was successful there, scoring points. I did commentary on some of the races that he was in. Fantastic driver. It does seem that he is falling back a little bit to Schmidl. Now 2.2 seconds, 2.1, maybe closing in some time a little bit as they start lap number 4 now. Zubek as well a little bit further back, but here we go. Once again, Blazek is going to try and make the move on Sakura. They're going to be side by side once again into Tamburello, but it does look like Blazek is going to... Oh, and we've got a car off there. And that is Hanzik. Oh, and unfortunately, the driver that I picked to keep my eye out for, Hanzik, dropping down to the final points-paying position, only ahead of Polsny. But we still got plenty of racing to go here, Matt. Over 27 laps still remaining.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that's one of the test is not just the pace of the drivers, it's also the consistency. And unfortunately for Hanzik, just that one error has cost him quite a few positions. He's down in 10th position now, only ahead of Polesny after that very difficult first lap that he had. So that'll be interesting to see how much Polesny, because he's only 3 seconds behind Hanzik now, so he'll be able to see him in some corners. As you can see now, we're on board with him, and his last lap was a 1:22.0 compared to Hanzik's 1:22.4. So he is quite a fast driver, faster than a few guys ahead of him. It's just the consistency and not getting involved in collisions, which will be the main thing. And we're now back to the race leader, 1:21.1 for Schmidl, so you can see how much faster he is than the guys further down the field. Maybe that'll update for his last lap in a minute, but Schmidl looking particularly comfortable at the moment. But Stefanko definitely still within touching distance. Zubek does seem to be falling away a little bit, although the timings do seem to change quite a bit depending on what part of the track they're on. But at the moment it looks like a two-horse race at the moment, but as we've seen with Hanzik's mistake, it is very easy to just lose that little bit of concentration, and then all of a sudden the race is completely and utterly wide open. But Schmidl obviously coming into this championship the favourite. He won many races last season, and it has to be said he's started this season off particularly well. We've got 26 laps left around Imola, so there's much more racing to go, especially with the pit stops that are going to be happening. There's also a little bit of strategy element involved as well. So the super soft and medium tyres are available. The super softs work for around 6 laps, the softs 12 to 14, and the mediums for 18. So we may see a little bit of a variable in terms of strategy, Justin, with some people potentially going for a one-stop with the mediums and then going on to another set of mediums, or potentially going on to the softs twice, so having to make that one extra pit stop.
Yeah, of course, you know, yeah, if you do the two-step, you're going to have to make some overtakes on circuit. So if you're not feeling too comfortable about going around the outside or up the inside of somebody at high speed, because this is a very high-speed circuit, then maybe going for the one-stop strategy is the better choice. And the way Stefanko has dropped back and then caught up and then dropped back and caught up, I mean, he really seems to be maintaining that distance. Initially, my assessment was that Stefanko might be dropping back, but no, I think he might actually be maintaining that distance, possibly trying to conserve those tires, stay out of the dirty air of this man right here, Michael Schmidl, as you're seeing him on the screen, just getting his car around the hairpin there. And again, you know, he is holding on to that lead. It looks comfortable, but I have to wonder if maybe Stefanko's going to try an undercut, going to try an overcut, something like that. He might have something up his sleeve here.
Sure, with only 2 seconds separating the leader and Martin Stefanko, he has to be wary of that, because obviously Schmidl will carry on potentially at one time, and then Stefanko may dive into the pits, which he can do absolutely nothing about. So whether Schmidl actually takes it upon himself to pit the earliest, so he gets the undercut and maintains the race lead, will be something we have to keep an eye on. Right now, we're on board with Frabish, right behind Schlebeck for 5th position. Schlebeck kind of not particularly close to Schlad at the moment. It's about 4 seconds separating 4th and 5th position. But right now, Frabish in that Lynx wonderful looking red and white livery is trying to make another position up and potentially get ahead of Schlebeck. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting name to pronounce over the course of this season, as most Czech names are, Justin, and being English speakers, it's obviously going to be a difficult one, but hopefully we are doing it justice at the moment as we now come to finish lap number 6, I believe it is, for these guys.
Yep.
And so they're starting lap 7. He's in the slipstream, but it doesn't seem to be particularly powerful, although he is closing, and oh no, that's actually a bit of a collision there with the Lynx driver and Schlebeck as well. So that is, well, I'm not sure how much damage he would have sustained there, Justin, but he's lost a few positions, and that was just a complete and utter outbreaking him, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, he's going to have to be careful with rejoining the circuit as well. Thankfully, Sakura managing to navigate his way around him. And I guess we're going to find out just how much damage he has, if any, pretty quickly here. Because he's got Dolazel all over the back of him. And there goes Hanzik. Never mind Dolazel. Hanzik makes the move up the inside of the hairpin. They're still going to be side by side as they head up the hill. And let's see, with the inside line, can Hanzik make the move stick here? It looks like he can just about. And he is now going to turn his attention towards Frabish, who again may have some damage here. We really don't know. It looked like a bit of a lockup from Frabish heading into Aqua Minerale there, and a bit of wheel spin as well there for Dolazel. That's certainly not going to help him catch up to Honzik, and now Polsny as well getting involved in this. We've got a 5-way battle going on for essentially 7th position, with Chlebek now pulling out a 4-second gap on this group, possibly as a result of all this battling.
Yeah, definitely, and that just kind of comes back to my point about consistency, really, and the fact that, you know, that just complete maybe lack of concentration, just a little bit of a late braking manoeuvre, but either way, it cost who was it again? It was the Lynch driver, Frabish. Yeah, it cost Frabish quite a lot of time. Yeah. And there's going to be a battle, though, into this next left-hander in this first sector. And it looks like Frabish has made the move on Sakura. So a nice move there, which would suggest that he hasn't got too much damage on that car. Either that or Sakura had a very difficult exit. But either way, Frabish up into 7th now. And not too far behind Chlebek, so it's still very much salvageable. Especially if he hasn't got damage. In the background there, you just saw, I believe that's Dolazel running a little bit wide there. Honzik now 0.2 seconds behind Sakura, so that'll be an interesting one to watch. Honzik kind of out of place right now, considering where he qualified up in, I believe that was 4th position, so, or maybe it was 5th, I'm not sure, but yeah, it was 5th position. So Honzik a little bit out of place at the moment, as you can see with that difficult first part of the race. But as you can see now, with his Thrustmaster shirt on and very much concentrating, he is trying to close in and make that move as he goes to the outside into the chicane. Surely not, but getting very close, Justin.
Yeah, he is looking very determined, very focused, as you can imagine, and also very disappointed after not making that move stick into Variante Alta. Here we go now, basically into the penultimate corner. He's having a look up the inside, more of just letting him know he's there. But really, what he wants to do is have a fantastic exit out of that final corner there. Yeah, and it looks like some wheel spin for Sakura, which means this is going to be pretty easy for Honzik. I think he's also going to have the inside line when they eventually get to Tamburello. Down the very long straight, though, across the start-finish line to start lap number 9 now. Not quite got the job done, but again, he's going to have that inside line, and there we go, under braking for that corner. It looks like Honzik now up into 8th position. Decent sized gap, 2 seconds gap up to Frabish, and then another 4 seconds on Chlebek here. But here we go with Sakura having a look up the inside. That's not really an overtaking location, but maybe just letting him know that he's there. He is not giving up. He's going to make Honzik work for this.
Oh, for sure. But I think Honzik, if he's able to bridge that gap slightly, I'm sure he'll be quite safe in 8th position and be looking ahead rather than behind to his next target, which will be Frabish, and who is around 3, where it says 4, now it's 3 seconds behind Chlebek. So obviously the intervals being slightly changeable during the lap. But what isn't changing is the 2-second gap between Schmidl and Stefanko currently. So maybe that will become one. Oh, well, look at that, into the chicane! And that was a very, very daring move there from Polesny, I believe that is. Is that Polesny? Yeah, Polesny trying to make the move on Sakura there. But Sakura must have made a mistake, because he's now dropped well back from Honzik and is now potentially going to lose 9th place as well if Polesny gets a good exit, just like Honzik did. Here we go. Can he get a good exit off the curb? And it looks like Sakura's had a better exit, but with that slipstream, and, well, when we finally get to Tamburello with this very long straight, can Polesny make a move? Look at the closing speed of Polesny. Can he go up the inside? He is indeed. He's going to try and stick it up the inside and does so. And Jan Sakura losing another position, down to 10th now. But actually, Polesny getting a compromised exit there after that move. Sakura trying to get past desperately up the inside we go. Is there going to be any contact? No. Polesny manages to make that move stick, but runs slightly wide on the curb, but makes sure that his car is in the correct place and is up into 9th place. And Dolazel now looking to put Sakura into last position.
Yeah, Dolazel not far behind. He is kind of waiting in the wings for these two guys to figure out who's going to hold on to that 9th place position, but it's looking better for Polsny as the lap progresses on. You have to say he's looking a little bit more comfortable, but again, fantastic defending, fantastic fight backs that we're seeing from these drivers. And now we're finally getting an onboard of a man we haven't seen in a while now. This is Martin Stefanko heading down the start-finish straight to start lap number 11, about a third of the way through this race now, as he gets the car all slowed down using 3rd gear for the high-speed chicane, and then through the left up through the gears, and it's all looking very controlled for Martin Stefanko. And again, as you mentioned, Matty, that gap still holding firm right around 2 seconds. There's slight variations here or there, but it really doesn't seem. And I don't know if Stefanko is pushing. I'd love to see a camera shot of his face right now, because you know, if he looks comfortable, then I'd say this is where he wants to be. Whereas if he's pushing as hard as he can and is just barely maintaining that gap, I think his face would be a little bit more determined. But yeah, as mentioned before, Polsny, after getting past Sikora, does appear a little bit more comfortable pulling out that gap, and Dolazel now trying to get that final points-paying position.
I think for most of these drivers, if we were to see a camera of them driving, their eyes are going to be on stalks either way, if I'm honest, just because they want to be as consistent and score as many points as possible in this first round of this Thrustmaster Virtual GP Season 2. And we're having a look at Sikora and Dolazel at the moment, who are going to be fighting for last position at the moment. We've still got one space in the league, so we're waiting to see if that gets filled in the next round or so. But right now, we have got a fight for last position, which I'm sure is not what either of these guys wanted. But Dolazel, I'm pretty sure, will just be happy to fight someone, as he's now going to have a look. Well, we've already seen this attempt of a move round the outside into the chicane, which is nothing doing. But it's all about the exit here, Justin. And will Dolazel get a good one? No, he doesn't. Sikora gets a slightly better one, which is, well, not what we've seen for the last few laps, where Sikora has lost positions to both Honzik and Polesny, as we are now still following this last position battle. But right out in front, it's as if Stefanko had a potential. Oh no, that's a spin from Dolazel at the back, and he has just lost all of the time that he has gained and worked to try and fight someone, and he's still trying to spin the car around. Don't hit the wall. He's trying to find reverse gear, and that is definitely not, he's not finding that anytime soon. So Dolazel is completely out of the running now. And I was just saying, it's as if Stefanko had a reasonably mediocre start to the race in the first few laps, but since then, oh, that's the Lynx car of Frabish into the wall there, and surely that's going to be some damage, as Honzik now is gifted 7th position, so I'm sure he won't be shaking his head at that one. I'm sure he'll be quite happy to see a car in the wall and him being gifted a place. But yeah, Stefanko does seem, as you say, quite comfortable and quite consistent in comparison to Schmidl as well, so we could see a fight for the lead at some point during this race, as we now have Dolazel in the pits. And, well, I mean, that's pretty much his race over. He's getting lapped. That is going to be a very painful thing to suffer in the first race of the season, as we now see the two race leaders.
And yeah, of course, getting lapped is, you know, it's kind of a exponential problem, because now that you're a lap down, you have to think about blue flags and traffic and all that kind of stuff. Schmidl, though, thankfully will not have to deal with that, as he lapped him while he was in the pits. So these two guys, your two leaders, don't really have to think about it too much. Zubek in a podium position at the moment. That gap has grown pretty significantly, around 9 seconds, almost 10 seconds at times, but it's looking pretty comfortable. He's got a 5-second, 6-second gap behind, fairly sizable gap to Chlad behind in 4th position. So Zubek, actually, you have to say, is probably driving the most comfortable race out of everybody, just trying to, you know, that's the magic word that you've been saying, Matty, is consistency. You need consistency here, and clearly that's something that the top 3 all have, and that's afforded them just a little bit of comfort in this race. So I think Zubek just enjoying just going around the track, keeping it on the black stuff, making sure he doesn't go into the wall or have any moments or anything like that, and it's looking pretty good for him after nearly 13 laps of racing here. The top 3 all looking pretty solid for this first race.
Well, being a rookie of the league, Zubek will be very happy to be on the podium currently, so I'm sure he'll definitely take 3rd position if he is able to bring it home. We're not even half race distance yet, and we've had quite a bit of action already for round 1, round Imola. I mean, a fantastic track to kick off this season, it has to be said. And as I mentioned earlier, rain is not a thing that is supported by Assetto Corsa, unfortunately. But in terms of the weather and the temperatures, it's around 23 degrees currently at the moment, so it's fairly warm. I'm sure that the tyres are probably quite grippy compared to what it would be in colder conditions. So it's pretty much ideal conditions for the drivers, as the Lynx car of Frabish is in the pits, and he will drop all the way to 10th position. Dolazel will not overtake him, I'm pretty sure, but he'll still come out in 10th position. So it's looking like the drivers are coming into the pits around this time, Justin. So I'm not sure what strategies everyone's going to be going on. It's going to be quite obvious if someone's gone for a 2-stop if they come into the pits in around 7 or 8 laps from when they've just pitted. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that, as we now have a fight between the Effective Racing team and the Ben Q Racing team here. So Blazek, who is currently in 5th place, right behind Chlad. And, well, we've got a very interesting fight here for 4th place.
Oh, Chlad's last lap was a 126, so that's why we're having this battle, apparently.
Yeah, he's made a big mistake somewhere. I'm not sure if he got any damage or not. I can't see in terms of visually, but maybe he's struggling to get some temperature back into these tyres. But either way, Blazek is right behind Chlad here, and the gap just was closed and closed, and there was not a car width to go around the outside there. But let's just think, will Schlebek get a good exit out of this final corner as we now head down the straight? And oh, that's Blazek coming into the pits, so that battle is Chlad comes into the pits, so Blazek takes 4th position as that battle has been paused for now. But so surely Chlad should come out ahead once everything is said and done in terms of the pit stops. But right now Stefanko closing in on Schmidl, and I think it's a case of just learning all of these guys' names and their liveries, isn't it really, Justin?
Yep. It's going to take some time, but thankfully they are all unique. Very easy to spot all the different teams and drivers and everything. So once we get more familiarized with everything, it'll come much more naturally. But I wonder if we're going to be seeing Stefanko coming into the pits here at the end of lap 15, which would then probably put him on for a 16-lap stint at the end of the race on another set of the medium compound tires, as Jan Sikora into the pits as well from 10th position. So it looks like
there it is.
That's
what I was saying about Justin, that Stefanko coming into the pits before Schmidl. What's the undercut going to be like, do you think?
I imagine it's going to be pretty powerful. I'm surprised he actually didn't try to come in earlier, because doing 15 laps on a full tank of fuel versus doing 16 laps on a half tank of fuel is obviously very different. So I'm surprised he actually didn't maybe risk it a little bit, come in on lap 14, something like that. And I wonder if Hanzik is possibly thinking about pitting as well. He's at the end of his 15th lap, seeing some smoke in the pit lane. Must have been Blazek, who was being very aggressive, I assume, late on the brakes, putting up some smoke into the air as he now comes into the pits from 4th position. He's going to drop down to at least 6th position, now 7th. Looks like it's going to be close between him and Chlad, but Michael Schmidl continues on for another lap. He's going to finish lap number 16 on this set of tires. I wonder if he's going to try and push it and put on a set of softs at the end. It's difficult to try and get inside the minds of these drivers, but he might be going for something alternate. He may have seen this undercut from Stefanko coming, and he might be planning accordingly.
Well, it'll all be very much answered in the next couple of laps. Will Schmidl come into the pits at the end of this lap? He had enough of a gap, I'd say, potentially, to come out in the race lead again as he comes into the pits and slows down nicely. Couldn't actually see where the line was, but either way, Schmidl in the pits and getting his car serviced, and that is Zubek, I believe that is, in the Avast team car. So will he take the lead of this race, or will he come into the pits as well? That'll be something to see in a moment's time. And that is Stefanko. Where will he come out in comparison to Schmidl, who is about to leave the pits now? Let's have a look and see. Schmidl looking in his mirrors, and here comes Stefanko. Is it going to be close coming out the pits? No, it's not. Schmidl comes out back into the lead. On cold tyres, though, it has to be said. So will Stefanko be a bit quicker on this lap and be able to get close? He'll definitely be pushing, Justin, and well, let's have a look and see how much Schmidl will lose on this first lap on cold tyres.
Yeah, I mean, Schmidl just, that was truly incredible. I mean, he actually prevented the undercut. He pitted a lap later. It didn't matter. So yeah, maybe tire temperature. You might be exactly right about that, Matt. As again, Zubek in the Avast car currently leading this race, still yet to pit, so he might be going for an alternate strategy potentially. But yeah, the undercut might not have been so powerful because Stefanko may have struggled to put heat into his tires.
Well, let's have a look and see. It's about 1.4 seconds at the moment between Schmidl and Stefanko, but he's not really gaining too much to be able to think about an overtaking opportunity at the moment. But it's definitely closer. But over the course of this stint, surely Schmidl will have that slight bit of advantage with that extra lap that he put onto his first set of tyres. So he's got 1 lap fresher tyres currently, and now we're looking at Blazek right behind Chlad. Is there anything going to happen through this lap as we now come to, that is the effective, no, that's the Avast team car, sorry, of Peter Zubek coming into the pits now. So he's led a lap or two, which was probably nice for a rookie, but unfortunately he's had to give the position back already. He hasn't even stopped in his pit box yet with Schmidl and Stefanko. An absolute class of the field, it has to be said, compared to the rest of the guys. So quick. I mean, is it going to be Schmidl and Stefanko? Is that going to be the talking point of who's going to win this championship? It's very early to say, but right now they are a class of the field, Justin.
Yeah, you have to say they've had the consistency, they've had the pace. Hanzik maybe hasn't had the luck, certainly. You know, we've seen that in the race today, particularly in the early stages. A valiant fight back for him for sure, without question. He is going to lose a couple of positions in the pits there as Blazek and Chlad continuing that battle on. Less than a second separating the BenQ driver from Richard Chlad up ahead. So yeah, those guys, that battle continues to rage on, and Hanzik is going to actually drop down to 9th position after making that pit stop. So that is an unfortunate one for him. I think there might still be a couple of drivers yet to pit ahead of him, but he's still got, I mean, he's got the pace, he's got the experience, so I'm not counting him out just yet. But Stefanko, you know, let's put it this way, if Stefanko was holding back in the opening stint in order, as all part of this master plan of his to undercut Schmidl up ahead, clearly it hasn't worked, and you know, he's got to change that mindset now. He's got to make that that overtake on circuit. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of a fight now from Stefanko as we're having to look through Aqua Minerale there. That was Chlebek locking up a little bit, putting up some smoke there as he's got Polsny very close behind.
Yep, another battle joined. So how will Chlebek deal with this pressure? As you say, you know, he's a rookie as well. And it has to be mentioned as well, TP Link have 2 drivers this season. So Chlebek and a man called Daniel Lishkak, is they're going to be alternating through the season. So Chlebek, it's his turn this time. And let's see if he can impress the TP Link team by keeping Polesny behind. They're 0.1 seconds behind, it says on the interval, so that'll be interesting. In fact, they're changing positions, and here we go. They're going to be side by side, is Polesny and Chlebek, and oh, round the outside. Fantastic move there by Polesny, the rookie as well.
Both rookies,
so
actually.
Quite a few rookies, yeah, both rookies. So good driving from both of these guys. Very inexperienced in terms of virtual GP, but clearly not inexperienced in terms of wheel-to-wheel racing, as Polesny up into 6th position now. The man that he was at the back of the grid.
He was dead last.
Yeah, by quite a mile. So Polesny really showing the pace that he has in that car around this circuit. So he'll have to continue pushing on, because I'm sure he's yet to pit, and that's why he's up in 6th position at the moment. But let's have a look and see how Chlebek deals now with the pressure from Frabish. So Chlebek will not want to lose 2 positions in the matter of those laps. And Stefanko now, it is a second between Schmidl and Martin Stefanko. Can we see a fight between these two? It must be so excruciating for Stefanko just to see the race win in front of him for so many laps. But yet he's kept it consistent, and he's eked away at that gap. And to think that he's only gained about 9/10 over the course of 20 laps just shows the alien consistency of those two.
Yep, incredible stuff from those guys, and you know, some fantastic battles as well going on in the background here. We're on board with Frabish in the Lynx car in 8th position, having a look at Chlebek as they make their way into the first chicane. He's going to have to stay behind for right now. Can he get a good exit out of there? 5th gear through the Tamburello corner, down the straight, and it does look like he's going to have to hold back for now. Chlebek seeming just much faster on the straight there, but just so much more speed.
Oh, what, the inside!
Wow, great move by Frabish there, very late on the brakes, but really making it work there. That was actually just pretty much textbook. Wasn't even side by side as they exited the corner. He's still got to worry about Chlebek behind him, having to look up the inside, but no, the Lynx driver covering him off there, and actually Chlebek has to...
Hanzik, there you go, Hanzik through around the outside.
Incredible.
Unbelievable. Hanzik taking advantage of the fact that there was just a little bit of impatience from Chlebek there, running wide after being a little bit frustrated that Frabish got through, and Hanzik was like, well, thank you very much for running wide, I'll have a good exit, and took the position away from the TP Link driver. And now Hanzik wants another one from the Lynx driver, and he's going to be up the inside, and he's already passed him pretty much going into this next left-hander. Up the inside, Hanzik takes another position up into P7, and I'm sure he'll be nodding to himself this time after making 2 positions up in the space of about half a lap. And that's going to be close again between BenQ driver of Michael Blazek going up the inside, and I'm not sure if he was he taking that position away from Chlad, or was he defending? I think he was defending.
I think he was.
But yeah, so Chlad and Blazek getting very close there for 4th position, which is quite a high position to be fighting over, and a lot of points on the table. But they don't want to be taking themselves out, because we've already seen that happen a couple of times already this race with contact, and well, Dolazel has really felt that, unfortunately. But he has actually come, he's unlapped himself with Schmidl and Stefanko pitting, so at least Dolazel has some free track to be able to push in. But there you go. Actually, no, he's just been he's just been lapped again. I think that's Smiddle lapping him. So yeah, so just as I said, he's unlapped himself. They've caught him and unfortunately had to lap him again. So Dolezal's afternoon goes from bad to worse. And, well, maybe you'll get a couple of tips from Smiddle, but I think Smiddle will just drive off into the distance. But it's going to be important for Stefanko here to get through on the lap car as quickly as possible. And, oh, that's close. Oh, no. Stefanko catching Dolezal, sorry, in a very, very tricky area there. Stefanko, Dolezal not maybe seeing him, I'm not sure, but either way, he didn't get out as quickly as he did for Smiddle, who caught him on the straight. Yeah,
maybe he didn't expect the battle for the lead to be this close after 21 laps of racing. And, I mean, can you really blame him? Because, I mean, to expect those two guys to be separated by less than 2 seconds after half an hour of racing, I mean, that is incredible stuff right there. So, yeah, I can imagine Dolezal having some difficulties, but in the end, everybody comes out just fine. Jason Jan Sakura, meanwhile, in 10th position, picking up that final points-paying position at the moment in that T-Mobile car to cross the line and start lap number 22. He's got a 16-second gap up ahead to Chlebik, but then an even bigger gap down behind to Dolezal. So Sakura, much like Zubek earlier in the race, and indeed much like Zubek right now, a bit lonely out on circuit, you have to say, probably.
I think Sakura will be probably a little bit more angry that he's lonely in 10th position, as we now have a little feed of the drivers racing live, which is always nice to see. Getting a bit of personalities coming across of their eyes, pretty much coming out of their faces. But Zubek, I'm sure, is very happy to be quite... Because, I mean, obviously, I think he probably knew coming into this race that he did not have the pace to challenge Smiddle and Stefanko, yet he's in 3rd position, he's comfortable, he's about 12 seconds out of Blazek, and I think Zubek will be very happy with 15 points for his first race in Virtual GP. And unfortunately for Stefanko, he lost the same amount of time that he lost that he'd gained in 20 laps. So I'm sure for Stefanko, if this was a 100-lap race, maybe he'd be able to catch Smiddle, but it doesn't look like either of these guys are going to make a mistake yet. And I've said that, and I'm probably just cursed one of them to make a mistake now. But, I mean, I'm sure for the viewers' sake, we wouldn't mind seeing a little error from Smiddle to close these guys back up to maybe where they were. But right now, Smiddle looking very comfortable out in front. And with that 1 lap fresher tyres as well, looks like he may well be able to eke this out into the first victory and win of the season. And here is Zubek, the lonely man himself. And now Chlad, who is 1.4 seconds behind Blazek. So maybe we'll see a battle joined again for 4th position. And Pelesny not too far down the road either, about 5 or 6 seconds behind. And as we've seen, Justin, with some impacts, with some running wides, that can open up quite a few can of worms. And you can see, like, within maybe 5th to 8th, there's around 10 seconds, so anything can really happen.
Yeah, especially with Pelesny showing such fantastic pace in the later stages of this race, really making the overtakes too. Great racecraft as well, not just single lap pace, but also making overtakes and all that. So it looking very good for him. And then also Hanzik as well, again out of position, down in 7th position, just a couple of positions ahead of Chlebik here, who was quite a ways up. He has kind of been dropping back ever a little bit before the pit stop phase. Was up to 5th at one point, if memory serves me correctly, but now down into 9th. But he's looking to remedy that. He's looking to turn that 9th into an 8th, which would double his points haul for the day. So if he can grab that position as they start lap number 24 now, that would be huge for Chlebik, because, again, another rookie. But, again, as mentioned by you, Matty, by me earlier, Zubek definitely rookie of the day so far, holding on to that podium position, looking really good. Michael Smiddle, though, leading the race, still leading the race, and you know, you have to say he's looking very comfortable. And maybe that's because, you know, he dedicated this race to his late grandfather. So maybe he's got that extra pace, that extra determination in him to bring home that win in honor of his grandfather. And Frabish holding on to that 8th place position. But as I mentioned earlier, Chlebik not far behind, so we could see some battling going on still for 8th here.
Yeah, it's really nice for Smiddle to be winning this race, as you say. His late grandfather, who was a massive supporter of his esports career and racing in terms of his leagues, etc. So Smiddle out in front, and maybe that extra 10th of a second that he's needed currently, because there's still 6 laps to go, but that extra 10th maybe is because he's racing for his grandfather. A nice little touch for Smiddle at the moment. Let's see if he can get home for the 25 points. Stefanko, though, wants to change that in 2nd place, and he is closing in. I mean, it was 2 seconds, and Stefanko pretty much racing to the absolute limit now. I mean, 6 laps to go. I'm pretty sure he is not going to be holding back and just going through that chicane. You can see how much commitment he has, just flying over the curbs. You have to be careful. You can't just fly over the curbs and get on the throttle straight away, especially with no driver assists. It's not that easy, you know. These guys make it look very easy, especially Smiddle and Stefanko. No mistakes pretty much the entire race. And it has to be said, without Dolezal getting in the way, Stefanko would be around 7 or 8 tenths behind. Obviously, we're not taking into account dirty air, etc., that will be coming off the back of Smiddle, but at the same time, there'll also be a little bit of slipstream that Stefanko would be taking advantage of. So maybe that back marker, sorry, Smiddle will be thanking him at the end of the race, maybe buying him a drink. And it'll be interesting to see if Thomas Dolezal pits maybe 2 laps before, puts on a fresh set of tyres and tries to get that bonus point for the fastest lap, because he's the only man at the moment who isn't scoring.
Yep, yeah, and I'm sure he's going to be frustrated with that. But at the same time, I think he could take a lot of positives away from the day. I mean, he was definitely up there mixing it with everybody else in the points. You know, we haven't seen any particularly weak drivers or anything like that. I mean, looking at the gaps up and down the field, we're not seeing anything bigger than 30 seconds after 26 laps of racing, and that's with some contact, some off-track moments, lots of excitement up and down the field. So it's really fantastic, the racing, the close level of racing that we're seeing today, and I'm fully expecting that to continue throughout the season, possibly get even closer as the season progresses, because again, we've got a number of rookies. We've got 4 rookies in this race, so 36% of the drivers in this race are brand new to this league, and look how close they are. We got one of those rookies currently holding onto a podium position. So yeah, and here's the other 2 guys that are looking at a podium position, and again, just he's got a small smile on his face, doesn't he, Michael Smiddle? He seems happy with the position he's in.
Yeah, definitely. You can also see the concentration as well. It's must be pretty hard for him, especially, you know, Smiddle. It's very hard being the hunted, but the hunter, Stefanko, is probably feeling a lot more comfortable trying to catch someone, but Smiddle has no references, no one to really aim for, apart from looking in his mirrors and seeing the hunter, Martin Stefanko, trying to take away that victory, which is ever so close now for the Big Shock driver. But Zubek, it has to be said as well, with the rookies, they're only going to get better. And I think Zubek will definitely be one to watch out for over the course of this season, maybe towards the latter stages where he will be even more comfortable in this league and know, you know, how the drivers behave, because, you know, there'll be certain drivers that are more aggressive than others, staying out of sort of contact and things like that. So it's all about a bit of a learning curve for the rookies, not just because of the race itself, but also the drivers around them. As you see in Formula 1, like Max Verstappen, you're not going to dive one up the inside of him when you may well do so for someone else. So it's very much a learning game for these guys. And Stefanko, we just saw a bit of oversteer a couple of corners ago. So Stefanko, maybe his tyres are starting to sort of cry for help, if anything. But Smiddle probably in the same position, only 1 lap fresher tyres, and these guys have really much been throwing their cars about, but still within the white lines.
Yeah, very high-speed corners, obviously, particularly in the opening parts of the lap as you're watching them go through there. I mean, these are like 4th, 5th gear corners, and it can be very, very punishing on the tires, as we're seeing Sakura.
Yeah, this could be big.
Yep. Oh, right, yeah, Sakura being lapped here, actually. So Michael Smiddle and Martin Stefanko are going to have their eyes keenly focused on that T-Mobile car up ahead, because yeah, they've got to keep an eye out on what Sakura is going to do. Now, Sakura, not a rookie to this league, so I fully expect he's going to be very aware of the 2 leaders that are coming up very closely behind him. You were talking earlier, Matt, about the hunter and the hunted, and really Smiddle and Stefanko, these 2 guys, this is the gazelle and the cheetah out here. You know, these guys are really just, I mean, 40 seconds back to Zubek, 30 seconds back to Zubek, big gap down to 3rd position. We've been saying it really all day long. These guys are in a class of their own. Michael Smiddle now making his way around Sakura. Let's see if Stefanko can make his way around him too. Stefanko will pick up a little bit of a slipstream coming out of this final corner as they get onto the start-finish straight to finish lap number 28. So this could potentially actually be beneficial to Stefanko. He's only 1.3 seconds away from Smiddle, and he's getting a much bigger slipstream here than he's gotten all race long, I think.
Yep, so Stefanko now 1 second behind Smiddle, and we have only a few laps to go now. So Stefanko really does have to put the pressure on now if Schmidl's going to make a mistake, because at 1.1 seconds it's still not close enough to do any sort of moves, as we now have a battle. That's Polesny, who is coming under pressure from Honzik. So Honzik going to try and take away 6th place after that very difficult start that he had. He's now fought his way up to 7th and maybe be able to catch Polesny. But as you said, Polesny was a pretty quick driver to come from the back of the field all the way up into 6th position. So he's going to be one to watch in the next few races. The next race being in a few weeks' time, I think 3 or 4 weeks' time. So we've got a little bit of a break between round 1 and 2. But I think we've already kind of identified the drivers that we think could do pretty well. And I think, oh, okay, Zubek's interval time said 50 seconds a minute ago, but now it's updated itself. I thought he'd come into the pits again, but Stefanko 1 second behind. Can he get within that slipstream? He's not going to be able to this time, that's for sure. Smidl looking very much comfortable, and well, we only have, well, we're about to start the penultimate lap, and I don't think we're going to see too many changes. I think the only thing we're going to see is a battle for 6th place, and well, who do you think is going to come out on top, Justin? Polesny or Honzik?
Well, Polesny's got the track position, of course. They've got 2 laps remaining. These guys are just finishing up. They're coming into Sector 3 here of lap 29. So they've got 2 laps still remaining. And, you know, the track position I do think is going to be very beneficial. It could come down to how these guys set up their cars, though. Which I think could be the difference that we're seeing between Schmidl and Stefanko as well. Maybe Schmidl just running that little bit lower downforce. He's got the top speed to hold off Stefanko on the straights. That might be the difference that we're seeing. So we might see this here too. It's been a not very good exit for Polesny as he came out of that final corner. Honzik much more planted at the rear. He's going to have to go the long way around though as they head into turn number 2 here. He's going to be on the right-hand side of the circuit. Polesny with the inside line. Can he get any? Brake late enough? No, he can't. Honzik goes around the outside. Very late braking for him into that corner, and he gets the move done. It's not over just yet. They still got a little bit under 2 laps of racing. I'm not going to count Polesny out just yet, but Honzik getting the move done up into 6th position. I'm sure he's going to be happy with that.
Honzik's probably looking at Schlad and going, I want him as well before the end of this race, but he'll have to do something very special to catch and pass Schlad before the end of the race, as it is now the last lap of this first round of the Thrustmaster Virtual GP Championship, and Stefanko really does not have an answer, unfortunately, for Smidl, who has been able to keep that gap the entire race long. And I mean, I'm sure Smidl will be having a nice long bath after this race because he has had to keep it very much consistent for 31 laps. And Stefanko, it's been a very impressive drive from both of these guys, and I think it's going to be a championship long battle between these two. And it's nice to see, even though Smidl did dominate a lot of the races last time out for season 1, but it's nice to see Stefanko up there and very much challenging for the win this time out. And I think it really was just the fact that Smidl got pole position. That was it. Like, he was able to get off the line well, and Stefanko couldn't do anything about it. As you can see, Stefanko still pushing so hard to try and catch as we go into the chicane for the final time, and Smidl taking it easy. As you can see, he's actually catching him slightly, but Smidl just making sure he keeps the car planted as he comes towards the last few corners. Lap 31 of 31, and Smidl, as we mentioned earlier, dedicating this race win it's going to be for the Big Shot team for his late grandfather, and he is going to come round the final corner and drive towards the line to win the first round of this Thrustmaster Virtual GP Championship. And there you go, very happy. A little bit of a fist pump and a rub of the face, and I'm sure he hasn't blinked for 31 laps, so I'm sure that is very nice for him to be able to stretch his hands, taking off his racing gloves. No helmet, unfortunately, because it's not that dangerous virtual racing. But we've got a battle here between Schlad and Honzik. So Honzik has caught Schlad, and we're now going to come to the chicane for the final time. He's going to go round the outside. Oh, they're going to go side by side into the chicane. That's going to be so close, but Schlad manages to hold on, and Honzik almost losing a position to Polesny again. And it looks like Schlad is definitely struggling with his tyres at the moment as we come to the last few corners, and that, wow, that is Polesny out-braking himself, trying to make something happen there into the last few corners. And Blasek is going to come home in 6th position with Honzik just behind. So, wow, what an end to the race that was for those midfield runners. But at the end, Michael Schmidl winning the race, not with ease, but it looked pretty comfortable in terms of his consistency and the fact he was never really challenged.
Right, no side by. I mean, Stefanko was there the whole time. I mean, he was pushing him, and I mean, pushing him. He kept him honest, no doubt about it. But for sure, it was always close, but never too close for Schmidl, as the two competitors are just meeting up after the race, congratulating one another after what was a fantastic race. A fantastic opening round for the Virtual GP here at Imola.
Fantastic racing from up and down the field. A few bit of impacts and collisions as well, which is always nice for a spectacle. But yeah, really close and really looking forward to the rest of this season. As you can see, the championship there, Stefanko getting that extra point with the fastest lap. And I think those two are going to have an absolute ding-dong battle for the rest of this season. And I'd like to thank you, Justin, very much for joining me in the commentary box today.
It was my absolute pleasure.
And we look forward to seeing you next time for round 2, which will be in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So make sure you stay tuned to Thrustmaster Virtual GP for the rest of this season. Goodbye.